and introduce you to Team Gaffr.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming in today. I'm Natalie, and together with Tom, Rob, Alex and Mant, we've created Gaffr. Gaffr is a mobile application for landlords and tenants. Is a mobile application for landlords and tenants to help them interact depending on their renting preferences. So I'm sure most of you have rented in the past, and you're going to agree with me that renting can be very stressful. So we wanted to make it a bit more fun. Hence, in our app, we're using a swiping screen as some dating apps. I'm sure you all know what I'm referring to. Instead of scrolling between endless lists. And also, by using our app, you can save time and money, as you don't need to interact with agencies, as the parties that are immediately affected, they talk between each other immediately. I'll pass you on to Alex, who's going to talk you through the app in more details. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Alex. I'm going to give you a live tour of the app. So, do we think this will be a typical kind of conversation between a tenant and a landlord? As you can see on the right, this is how a landlord would sign up, and then they can go to add their property, and this would act to the tenant side. So as you can see, upon creating their account, they'll add a property. It's quite expensive. Adds a description, a great house in London, and you can get the photos straight from your camera roll. As you can see on the left side, I'm just viewing a couple of properties. Don't like this one. Or the next one, I don't think. Yeah, and if you don't update your preferences, you basically see all the properties. So as you can see now, I'm updating my preferences for London. I don't actually smoke, but I put smoking on this one. Pets. And upon refreshing, you can see the property that we just added as a landlord. Looks quite nice. Then as a right swipe, you can go, and straight away it comes up as a match, so you can begin a conversation. You start just like a normal conversation, say hello. I think this will be a pretty typical conversation between a landlord and a tenant. So I'd ask, can I get a viewing of the property? And hopefully yes. And then I think I actually get blocked by this Larry landlord right now. Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's the live tour. So I'll pass you on to Rob, who's going to go through the text that we've used.
Thanks, Alex. So we knew from the start that our backend was going to have to accommodate database querying and live chat. So we'd heard a lot about GraphQL from the last group, and they made it sound very good. And Socket.io is just the only thing I've heard of for using WebSockets for live chat in the past. But we didn't actually end up using either of those. As it happens, the Firebase Firestore database that we'd created was more than capable of providing the live chat and querying itself. So the GraphQL API we'd created was just acting as an unnecessary middleman. Alongside the queries and live chat, the Firestore was capable of authentication and using image uploads directly from the app. We built the app in React Native with Expo because we knew from the start wanted cross-platform compatibility. Expo allowed us to view on all our phones as we developed simultaneously. React Native, we thought React. We've learned that. How different can it be? But we were wrong. And we wrote the whole app in TypeScript, which is a superset of JavaScript with static typing versus JavaScript's dynamic typing. We were inspired by an Airbnb software developer saying that 38% of their bugs would be preventable if they'd built the app in TypeScript from the beginning rather than JavaScript. So hearing that, we researched it, looked into it, and started building the app. It started off kind of an overbearing parent type thing that just shouted at us because we just wanted to code. But as we learned, we kind of grew to enjoy it and appreciate that it is helping us stop bugs. Like we wouldn't get so many missing parameters or things like that. The IntelliSense autocomplete, which is in JavaScript anyway, but the TypeScript helps it fill in blanks. So missing parameters from functions and things you've imported from other files, it's going to tell you what's missing. So it's also very helpful for node modules that you've imported. For example, the Firestore functions, we could just mouse over, see what it's supposed to input, what it's supposed to return, what we need to give it as parameters. Most of the packages we used had them, and the others weren't very handy. So I'm going to pass you to Tom, who's going to talk about problems.
Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Tom. I'm just going to take you through some of the problems we had over the course of the project and how we went about dealing with them. So first of all, along with React Native, which was its own challenge, sort of our unique challenge was TypeScript. It's after going through the entire Northcoders course and using nothing but vanilla JavaScript, which is quite lax in its typing, you can sort of get away with whatever you want. Going from that to explicitly having to type every single variable, parameter, everything, including our Firestore database retrievals, which could have been objects with perhaps half a dozen to a dozen keys, and inside those there could have been objects within objects. Having to explicitly type all of that was a bit of a shock to the system, and it did initially slow us down a little bit. Also related to TypeScript was something called type never that we encountered. Type never is the type that TypeScript will assign to code that it deems unreachable, or it thinks it's never going to run. And we ran into this when we were making asynchronous calls to the database, and the things that we were expecting didn't exist yet. So we might want to access the name of a user, but that won't exist on type null or undefined, and so TypeScript was shouting at us, and we had to just be very explicit with our conditional statements to make sure we saw eye to eye with TypeScript on that. Firebase. Firebase was also new to us and presented its own challenges. One challenge we had with Firebase was about 3 days from the end of the project. We came in about 8:30, and after a few hours of coding, we received in the console an error message we'd never received before, telling us that we'd hit our usage for the day. And when we looked, we'd seen that we actually accessed our database about 50,000 times in those 3 hours, which was a bit disconcerting. We were able to get around that, thankfully, thanks to a free trial offered to us by Google, which gave us $300 of free credit for the Firebase, and that saw us through to the end of the project, thankfully. Finally, our swiper component. The swiper didn't play ball from the very beginning. It did not work on Android, and what's more, it didn't tell us why it wouldn't work on Android. We would access it from an Android device, and it would simply close the app and start from the beginning and gave us no indication why it wasn't working, which was not very helpful. Also, we decided on our color scheme fairly early on in the process, our lovely pink and purple, but the swiper had other ideas, and for the life of us, we could not change it from this sky blue color. We spent far more time than I would like to admit trying to change that color. Yeah, these problems both plagued us right pretty much up to the end of the project, and we were actually able to solve those on pretty much the penultimate day by rooting around inside the node modules for the swiper component, and we were able to find the component inside that was preventing it from working on Android, and we found the prop that was setting the sky blue color, and we were able to change that, thankfully. But yeah, that's pretty much it for our major problems. I'm going to pass you over to Amanda, who's going to talk about best practices.
Hi everyone, I'm Mand and I'm going to talk to you about best practices. So I think at the very start of the project as a team, we underestimated the importance of communication and working together. So to get past this, we took an agile-inspired approach, or not strictly agile, but we did try our best, and that helps us find out if anything we were working on that wasn't valuable, we could sort of ditch it and course correct before we ended up wasting too much time on it. But overall, I think we've all worked towards a common goal, and we're all very proud of what we've achieved. One of the initial sort of things we came up against was the fact there was 5 of us. So for pair programming, there was always going to be one person left on their own. So we decided to have sort of 2 pairs and one on their own, and we swapped it sort of throughout the weeks to make sure everyone had a bit of a go on the front end and the back end. Another thing that we did try the first day we'd actually started writing it just in React.js, and we decided to switch to TypeScript. So we adapted a method called mob programming, which we hadn't actually learned on the course, but we'd heard of it, so we wanted to try it. So we had one person driving and everyone else navigating, and I do feel like this helps us learn the tech quicker than if we were all working separately and working on our own. So that was something good. We also had the Kanban board. That picture is not like staged in any way, and Tom is definitely not drawing a happy face there. And all the tickets we wrote collaboratively, so we all knew what we needed to do, and we used GitHub to try and follow coding best practices. We used separate branches and then we merged them together at the end. But a main thing that we did discover was to be a good developer and work well in a team, it's not just about how good you are at code. It's a lot about how well you get on with other people and how you can work together. So we do have an extra special member on our team who has motivated us, and you may have seen him on Slack. But yeah, everyone's been laughing about him this week. So yeah, that's about everything for teamwork. And if you have any questions, then feel free to ask.